First of all, thank you everyone. Very good evening for yet another amazing session. I think the topic title has generated so much of interest that we've had a record-breaking registration. And I'm hoping we'll have a record-breaking attendance too for the session. I'm all set. The session is being recorded, so please note that if you don't choose to be recorded, you can stay off video and off on mute. Though we would love to have a engaging discussion, and we'll be very happy to have you all on video and unmute every time you need to speak. With that, let me get started. As I told, the topic title itself was so interesting and engaging that we've had such a huge number of people register. The title is Refreshing Core Competencies and Building Business Coaching Needs of a Practicing Coach. And I'm sure every practicing coach is going to nod their head very vigorously and say, yeah, that's exactly what I need. And a little bit about this session before I introduce the speakers. After we get a certification, we start our coaching practice. It's natural for practicing coaches to feel that they need to refresh all that they have learned, re-anchor their core coaching competencies. So our speakers here offer this phenomenal opportunity to all our participants here that would enhance their awareness of these needs and understand some ways in which they can address their needs. And of course, we're going to be talking about building the business of coaching. And that has been yet another ask from our community time and again, and might have piqued all the interest in today's session. So with that, let me introduce to the group the three esteemed speakers. First up is PK Narayanan. He's a PCC and a CEO coach who has been helping business owners and CEOs scale up their business and enhance their leadership impact since 2013. Can we give a big round of applause for PK? Next up is Subash, who is an MCC. He's a leadership and executive coach. He's a mentor and ICF trainer, an ICF coach trainer for the last 10 years. A former banker and is the founder of Regal Unlimited, a boutique firm for the coaching and for coaching, mentoring, and coach training. Big round of applause for Subash too. And our very well-known a face that we see in almost all of our sessions, John. Very warm welcome. Who is an MCC, is a mentor coach too, leadership and executive coach, coach trainer and leadership trainer, and a facilitator. Having worked in the field for 20 plus years, is the managing partner at Serrao and Associates. With that, we can get started with the session. Please note that this is part of a paid promotion, and they have kindly agreed to give us a learning session as a part of the whole package of the paid promotion. Over to you, PK.
Thank you, Shanti. And am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, and happy to be here amongst esteemed coaches, friends. So talking about refreshing core competencies and definitely about building a business of coaching as a needs from a practicing coach, from the point of view of a practicing coach. We all, after certification, we get into coaching, and a few years of into coaching practice, there is always a tendency to drift a bit above from our core competencies and the process rigor. And this happens not by design, but this is what probably, even if what we put in place, like reflections, the rigor of coaching process before the session, during the session, after the session, we have few practices that to anchor our coaching skills, coaching core competencies, to reflect on the sessions afterwards. We do all that. But still, after a few years of practice, we may develop some blind spots with respect to some of those. As a practicing coach, then we need to do many things on our own, right? In a way, we are micro entrepreneurs. And naturally, the question arises, therefore, how do we stay focused on the core coaching competencies? Because all of us aspire to be master coaches. No, I didn't mean MCZ. I meant master coaches. So what we are discussing is beyond certification, beyond the skills, in coaching session as a master coach. And somebody said once that mastery is getting the basics right. And it was very, very relevant to our coaching as well. It's about going back to the fundamentals again and again and getting the basics right. Therefore, there is always a need to refresh, reconnect, re-anchor the core competencies and at regular intervals so that we stay rooted and we get our basics right, or we increase the odds of getting our basics right on course to our mastery. How do we do that? What are the resources we have and how to keep at it? Just to get a sense of the participants, just a question to you. You could put your answers onto the chat box. When is the last time that I have read the 8 coaching competencies that ICF has? So you could put your answers in the chat box. Just curious to know, when is the last time I read the 8 coaching competencies? Yesterday, 2 days ago, last month, more than a year ago, yesterday, Feb 2023, a year ago, a month back, a year ago. Brilliant.
PK, I suspect that they all knew about that we would ask that question. So everybody has come prepared, I think.
No, I just, okay, I'm hearing you, John. Okay, the reason is that I would just narrate my experience. I got certified ACC in 2014 and PCC in 2016. And I've been a practicing coach since 2013, from January 2013. I was a member of ICF continuously from 2014. I attend a lot of COP sessions. I attend all the learning sessions of Bengaluru as well as other chapters. I'm a founder member of chapter also, Bengaluru chapter in 2015, and the first vice president. And I'm just saying this, I have been associated with ICF throughout. Still, by 2019, 2020, I was developing a feeling that I need to reconnect with the core competencies. Added to this was that also in my certifications, we had 11 CCs, core competencies, the original one. Sure. And then later it became 8, and what we have today. I had listened to the ICF videos at that time. I had read the 8 core coaching competencies, sub-competencies, all that. Still, there was a feeling that I need to get on top of it. And that's when I happened to attend there are ways and means of getting it done. And John and Subash are going to take us through how we can stay on top of it. How we can sharpen our core coaching competencies on a continuous basis. One of the things that I did was to attend an intensive, which was focused on core competencies beyond certification. It had nothing to do with certification. 2 things shifted in me after that. One, I read the coaching competencies with a renewed intent as a pre-work to the intensive, and then watched all the ICF videos on each of them. Though these videos had come years ago, I had not watched them with the attention and the interest that I had just before this intensive, maybe as a preparation to this intensive. This is one that shifted in me. It gave me a lot of insights as to what I was doing, what I can be doing, and what I was missing even. Yeah. And second most important thing was there was a very focused deliberations on CC3, and I started as a result. After this, I started articulating the comprehensive, the overarching intent for the series of sessions that I always was having with my clients in the coaching roadmap. As a practice, I prepare something called coaching roadmap prior to the session 1. And that will, in a way explain what are the areas and what are the things that we are going to work on during the conversations, coaching conversations, which are generally, in my case, either 7 sessions or 16 sessions, depending on the context. So in this roadmap, I started mentioning the overarching intent in 1 sentence. What is the North Star? What are we going to aim for in these 7 sessions or 16 sessions? This was a significant enhancement in my process, in my coaching process. Putting into writing what is the kind of North Star that we both will be tracking. And of course, the another aspect is, as a practicing coach, we need to build our business and we need to keep building our business. And consciously, consistently, we need to be at it. So finding our sweet spot, which may take some time, then continuously attracting the right clients. We will be looking at these aspects a short while later within this session. And the structure of the session is that probably in the next 40 minutes or so, Subash and John will take us through some of the ways and means by which we can be on top of our core competencies, how to reconnect, how to refresh, how to re-anchor the core competencies, and how to get the basics right to on our journey to be master coaching and masterly coaching rather. And then 15-20 minutes, maybe after that, I would try to explain a couple of very crucial, important parts of building a successful coaching business. And then we may have a 15-20 minutes or 30 minutes question answer. So that is how the structure of this session going to be. So let's hear from John and Subash. How do we address this, John and Subash, the needs of a practicing coach with respect to how do we stay rooted in our core competencies? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, PK. So, one of the takeaways from what you just shared with me, or with all of us, is how you created this intent, an overarching intent for the number of sessions that you have. And in many ways, I'm thinking if I link it back to the core competencies, particularly CC3 and CC 3.1, it's really what is the kind of leader that you are aspiring to be in many ways over the course of those number of sessions, right? Now, while, and I think this is good, because if I think about CC3, we have CC3, which is contracting in the session, but we also have CC3 as an overarching contract across sessions. And in many ways, what you have now shared with me is the concept of a meta contract, as it were, right? Encompassing sessions after session. And if I take that and I link it back to the 4 markers, if I think about the 4 PCC markers that we have in contracting, simple markers. First is 3.1, which is really about what is the objective for the session, or what is the outcome that you're looking for the session. The second 3.2 is really about success measures. The third 3.3 is really about importance. And the fourth 3.4 is really about the things that might come in the way of achieving the 3.1. Now, if I look at these 4 simple markers which are needed for every coaching conversation, particularly if those conversations are going to be assessed by the ICF. My question to all of you here is, how many of us faithfully pick up these 4 marker questions? So go ahead and put in the chat, how many of us religiously do that in terms of adhering to these 4 crucial contracting questions, so that sets the tone and tenor of any coaching conversation? Okay, so I see some hands up. Okay. So there are people who say, I do all 4. Raki says. Sushma says, don't do, go with the flow. Okay, so this is one way to coach as well. And thank you for being honest, Sushma. I do. Dharmesh says, frankly, never. And Dharmesh has been my supervisor. Okay, just to give you some perspective. So, and I'm not saying, that our trying to pull or pick on anybody. Karan says, not often. Rajeshwari says 2. What is 3 by 4, Rajeshwari?
2 to 3 on an average.
Okay, 2 to 3 on an average. Lata says me. What is me, Lata?
All 4. I do.
Okay. I was wondering whether suddenly how the 4 markers became you.
That's me, embodiment.
Okay. So Sailesh says 3 or 4. Okay. Nikhil says need to do this more religiously. And I know that Nikhil and I were colleagues in our MCC, right? Cohort, right? Vivek says generally yes. right? And Anuradha says very nicely, these are really essential bookends, right? So if you think about CC3 and CC8, they are considered the bookends of the conversation, of coaching conversation, with 4, 5, 6, and 7 running horizontally across the conversation, right? Jivana says all 4 mostly, yes, mostly, inconsistent. But the fact of the matter is that if those recordings had to pass muster, as a simple example, with the ICF, they wouldn't if you're doing either 1 or 2 or 3 and not all 4. Now, I have often debated as to what is the reason why ICF insists on these markers. And by the way, the thing is that these markers need to be marked, or the contracting needs to happen very conversational, right? Now, here's the important thing. Most of us, for example, rush into trying to get to the 3.1 to 3.4 in the first few minutes. And, I come from a finance background, company secretarial background, for example. And I was thinking about, how we write contracts. Whenever we do contracts, for example, we have a conversation, because you need to have a conversation before you can sit and write down the elements of the contract that we all agree upon, which means there is supposed to be a prior discussion before we actually get to the nub of the matter. And the question is, how many of us really spend the time upfront investing in exploration to be able to come to a nice, solid 3.1 to 3.4 contract that essentially determines how the conversation will flow in the coaching conversation. So I want to pause here and I want to invite some thoughts here. So you can either open your mics or put it in the chat. Shrikant.
Can I go? Can I go? Yeah.
Ashok.
So when I was trained, I was told that in a 30 minutes conversation, I should establish the contract in 5 to 7 minutes. But that was meeting the expectations of ticking the markers, but it was not actually helping the client to move forward. So I just threw it out. And right today, when I coach, I have a thumb rule that if I'm in a 30 minutes conversation, I will take a minimum 10 minutes to explore the topic for the conversation and then establish the agreement. Sometimes it has gone to 15 minutes. So that means 1/3 of the time or 1/2 of the entire conversation time to establish the agreement. The reason I do that is that when I go deep and explore deep, the real issue the client brought up actually comes out. They may just come up with a very surface level issue, but if I go deeper and deeper, and that is when the significance comes up, right? Otherwise, they just want to be above the waterline in the iceberg. So there have been instances where in a 30 minutes conversation, when I have established 3.1 and when I want to establish 3.2, the client has shifted 3.1. Right? And then I establish a second 3.1 and then establish 3.2, the client has again shifted it. So by the time we got 3.1 and the 3.2 and all of that, it was 25 minutes. But the 25 minutes, so much explosion happened, a lot of insights. In the next 5 minutes, everything is done. So I would say, doesn't matter how much time it takes. Take as much time as you want to establish the agreement. Do not get under pressure and allow it to organically grow. Then putting pressure on you, saying that, see, a lot of times the coaches are under the impression that they have to drive the client towards some action.
Yeah.
We don't have, right? Our role as a coach is to help the client get a new level of awareness. Yeah. That also should not be our agenda. We should still maintain the client's agenda and just let the client lead the conversation. And that is the most difficult part. So that's my experience.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Shrikant, for sharing that. Very, very, very insightful, right? I have Abhimanyu who has said identification of the topic takes a good 15 minutes for a 60-minute conversation. Yeah. And while we would not like to put in place a certain length of time, it has to be enough for you to feel comfortable that, yeah, I think I have done enough exploration. And now I know what the contract is for the coaching conversation. And then your conversation can then be within that structure. And if you look at the ICF definition, it's really about being creative. And therefore, we can creatively then figure out and partner with our client to get them to where they want to go. But oftentimes, and Shrikant, you brought out a good point that we are under so much of pressure that, hey, the client is paying me, so the client needs to get an outcome, and I have to get to the actions. I've got to get to CC8, and I'm under so much of pressure that I then sacrifice my own presence there. In the process, I might miss out. For example, I might miss out elements of shifts in energy because I might be so troubled by what's going on that I am not sensing what is happening to the client in that moment. And therefore, how do I then get away from that pressure, be there, see what is happening, and especially when there are shifts in energy, when there is change in pace, for example, there's a smile, there's a laughter. Are we calling that out? Are we exploring that? Which actually leads me to what many of us struggle to do, which is really about coaching. If you think about it, the who of the person who comes into the conversation, right? Typically, clients come with a problem, but that never really is the problem. And we often love to coach the problem, but the problem is beneath the problem, which we fail to actually get to. And we struggle. Many, and I've done this mentoring for many PCC and MCC mentees. I find that many of them, in fact, all of them are very good in coaching transactionally. But that doesn't really help the client. We need to go deeper. Are we willing to do that? Yeah, and Anuradha is putting some nice things here. She's actually put some thoughts here. She says 1/4 of the time can we spend to explore and establish the goal. So she's actually giving us a nice rule of thumb. So if you think about a 60-minute conversation, that's like 15 minutes, right? And she's also talked about the fact of the shifting from the what to the who, which is so critical. Nikhil, has put in a lovely point, is be open to always be contracting. And Shrikant gave a wonderful example of that, of how when the clients gets their clarity, their 3.1 can keep shifting. And if the 3.1 keeps shifting, our 3.1 to 3.4 has to keep repeating to the one that they finally agree to. In fact, if some of you have gone through the PCC assessor training, in fact, if you're interested, you should do that. If you're a PCC, you can do that. It's a 40 CCU course. It's not very expensive. I think it's about $150. You'll learn a lot there. And there, one of the things they say is that if the 3.1 is not clearly marked, then the conversation as far as credentialing or for certification purposes is null and void, because you don't have the outcome that the client is looking for. Now, the fact of the matter is that the conversation might still be helpful for the client, right? Because I've never had a bad coaching conversation in that sense. So it's still useful. But here, now going back to what PK said, we are not talking about just a coaching conversation, but we are really talking about coaching at mastery levels. There are some more comments that have come up here. Anuradha says, true that the conversation keeps evolving in response to what Nikhil has said. Selva says, I have a sidebar question. Let me know when I can ask. Yeah. So hold on, Selva. Let me see what the next one is. As coaches, we're expected to offer a safe space, hence staying curious, more important than time constraints. Yes, Devrata. But while this is so, this is true. As a coach, we are still responsible for maintaining the focus and time of the session. That's still our responsibility. So while in principle it is yes, it is still there. Shrikant has said it's a 40 CCU course. If you really want to get the maximum benefit, then keep aside at least 75 years. I would agree with that. I was told that we can even spend up to 75% of the time in contracting. Yeah, there you go. Right. And then Abhimanyu says balance is key. Okay. So Selva, you have the sidebar question. Go ahead and raise that.
Thank you for the opportunity. My question is about retaining clients. While my clients seem to have gotten the value based on what they have been telling me, there's one particular client who's very happy with the coaching hour, but hasn't committed to follow-up sessions. And I keep thinking, what could I have done to retain the client? So I want to gain some experience from the rest of the coaches here to see, is there some sort of a rough percentage I should be sort of benchmarking myself with, or I don't know how to really look at that, client who doesn't come back.
Okay. So Selva, let's park this question for now, but I think at a certain point in time, PK will probably come to that question. In the meantime, Anuradha has put a little coaching question for you to ponder over until we come to the point where PK is willing to or is able to share some of his insights. Yeah. So what we have looked at is, we have looked at this whole aspect of CC3. But let me pause you here, and let me go back to that original question that PK had raised, which is really about mastery. And if I had to ask you a question, what does mastery in coaching mean to you? So if you had to share that, what would that look like for you? So feel free to put in the chat or open your mics and share. What does mastery in coaching mean to you?
I think deepening presence, John, like when you say dancing in the moment, you're absolutely there, right? You're quiet. For me, that's what it is, being absolutely quiet and with the person.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Rajeshwari. That's a good thought there. Right? Anybody else? Before that, Dharmesh has put a very interesting point there. My opening question is almost always, how do you wish to make the best use of our time together? And 3.1 to 3.4 keeps evolving as the coachee shares his or her story. Okay. Miriam says, can you please share some thoughts about how to coach a talkative client? And still make the progress, keeping in mind the competencies and the time. Yeah, Miriam, thank you for raising that. And hopefully we'll get a chance to answer that. So Shrikant has already given you a little hint. Ask the client, how has the conversation helped you so far? Yeah, so that could be one way to look at it. Yeah. What Sunila has put here is a very interesting thought. Clarity of 3.1 itself is a good takeaway for the client in the session. And he is very happy about it. Yeah. Dharmesh's mastery in coaching for me is to dance in the moment with high level of presence. Beautiful. And that's what Rajeshwari also talked about. Be present for the client. Effective, reflective inquiry, Ram has said. Anuradha said that's a tough one. Mastery is such a WIP, still learning, which begs another question for me here, which is really, is mastery in coaching a destination or a journey? So this is some more points for you to ponder, right? I got my MCC in 2018, 5 years back. And when I look at myself today and I look at myself 5 years back, I think I actually sucked at coaching, to be honest. Right? We make a big deal of MCCs, but I was terrible, right? And but over the years, I have gotten more self-aware and probably gotten a little better and better, right? And if I had to think of my own self, for me, mastery in coaching is really a journey. Like Anuradha said, it's a work in progress, right? Some of you all have shared about what it means and presence and all that, right? But there are times when that may be there, sometimes it may be missing, right? Jolly says, following all the CC markers, okay, and being mindful of the presence of self and coaching, okay, so that's a nice thought there. Raki says when the client gets more out of the session than what she expected and can easily understand the conversation. Okay, Raki. Sunil, using presence. Abhimanyu says mastery connection at a pure energy level. Wow, that's a very interesting thought. Now, Anirudh says mastery is about being comfortable with the spotlight on the client and not you. Wow, that's a very nice thought, Anirudh. I feel that even when I reach an MCC level, I will not have attained mastery. Deepika says, I think if I'm able to offer a safe space, be present for the client and stay curious and keep sharpening my skills. Yeah, absolutely, Deepika. Absolutely. Right? Journey, yeah. Mastery is when coaching process is second nature. Mastery is a journey. Yeah, beautiful. So it's flow currencies. So let me give you one last thing before I maybe turn it over to Subash, and maybe Subash can add his words of wisdom, which is this, a thought here. And this is something that has to do with a recent conversation that I had with a coach. And this is as follows, right? In a coaching conversation, we try and be curious. And we try, and what I learned from the Ted Lasso, if you have not seen that series on Apple TV, please see that series. It's a beautiful series. Ted Lasso. He's a coach. He's a football coach, actually a soccer coach who actually is coming from an American football this thing, right? Season 3 is out. It is fantastic. I just saw the last episode just today. Now, one of the things that he said, which I love, he said that curiosity is the opposite of judgment. All of us are judgmental. If you think about it, we all have biases. We have unconscious biases, and all of us have unconscious bias without exception, right? And therefore, what it requires is a high degree of curiosity in a conversation to be able to have an effective coaching conversation. And when you stay curious, you can stay away from judgment. Because people come to you with all kinds of problems, all kinds of intimate things that they will share. And sometimes it may shock the daylights out of you, right? And there is very real chance that we can become judgmental in that moment. And in so doing, we might compromise our presence and compromise safety for our client. And that might impact the trust the client has with us. Now, here's the thought for all of us. The thought is, how do we make curiosity and non-judgment a part of our lives? What I love about the coaching competencies is this, the fact that all of the coaching competencies, almost all without exception, they can be practiced in a non-coaching environment all the time. If you take listening, if you take presence, if you take questioning, if you take evoking awareness, for example, right? All of these are great competencies that don't need a coaching space to practice. I can practice with my wife, for example. How good a listener am I with my wife? Simple question. All of you all, or with my husband, as the case may be. And all of you all don't have to put that in the chat. But I want you all to think for yourself. What does that mean for you? Right? Now, this is something that can be practiced. Can we practice listening? Yes, we can. We can practice listening to a child, for example. Great practice. Really being there with the child. Right? And children catch it. I was reading just the other day that horses are able to catch human emotions. Our children are able to figure out when we are absent-minded and not being truly present. Can you be truly present with a child? Can you truly be present with your partner? Can you practice listening skills in any social setup? Can you ask questions? Can you be curious? Can you practice? Yeah, horse whispering. By the way, I got a new name yesterday. I got the name just yesterday, Baby Whisperer, and I loved it because I am like deeply in love with babies. Just yesterday, somebody named that. The question is that how do we take a part of who we are as a coach and expand it? Because these skills are fungible skills. These skills can be applied in literally every situation in our lives. In fact, my good friend Vivek Kedia is here. And I'm going to share something, Vivek. I hope it's okay with you about that incident of hugging. You know what I'm talking about at the Andheri. Okay, So let me share a very interesting episode. So Vivek was part of one of my cohorts, and we were on this topic of judgment, right? And I asked this question, right? When you have a transsexual, for example, who comes to your car at a signal and asks for money, what is our response? Now, if I look at the typical responses, I'll tell you what I do. I will make sure that my car door is locked. I will make sure my windows are up, and I will avoid eye contact with the person. Right? And this is probably typical for all of us because we are scared, we are afraid, we don't know how to respond to them, but they are people after all. And my friend Vivek did something very interesting. He told me that, he said, John, whenever I go to visit my mom in Borivali in Mumbai, Vivek lives in Mumbai. He says, I stop at the signal and I get irritated with these transsexuals or transgender people who come and ask for money. After the session on that Saturday, he stopped at the signal. They came, he got out of his car. He said, I'm not going to give you money. And he said, but I will give you a hug. And he hugged that person. And this transgender person had tears rolling down her eyes. And for me, this is a great example of how Vivek was able to take this whole aspect of non-judgment and put it into practice. Now, how many of us have the courage to do that? I'll be honest with you, I don't. But how many of us have the courage to do?
You'll be surprised, John. My mother-in-law a few years ago did exactly the same thing in Lucknow.
Wow.
Out of by chance, something she felt, and she just kind of touched that lady. And the transgender was down with tears. She was like, crying inconsolably.
Wow.
It's just a touch, and it was like, she was also shocked, not knowing what to do next.
Beautiful.
My mother-in-law. But so there's something very similar what you just said.
And I like what Shailesh has written, and I'm going to read some of the others also. He's saying, always be curious, always be caring, always be congruent. I love what Shailesh has put here. And this is something that doesn't have to be limited to a coaching session. This is not about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We cannot be, and we should not be the same person. We should not be two different people in a coaching conversation and outside. In a coaching conversation, we are John the saint. And the moment John's out of the coaching conversation, here comes John the devil. No, it doesn't work that way. In fact, ideally, there should be congruence. Like what Shailesh has put, there should be congruence, right? Karan has said mastery is when coaching plays beyond the coaching session. Yeah, true, right? Rajeshwari says coaching competencies are actually life competencies. True, very true, right? Right, so these are some simple examples of, and what Shrikant has said, coaching has to become being, right? And this is true, right? Instead of us trying to coach, we have to be a coach. Right? Yeah. So with that, I'm going to pause here for a moment.
Deepak has his hand up for a while. Can we have?
I know. Deepak, yes. Deepak, firstly, Deepak, thank you for your patience.
Sorry, John.
No, you have displayed coach-like qualities by staying so patient. So thank you for that. Go ahead, Deepak.
I just wanted to share something about mastery. Is that okay, or have you moved on?
Please go ahead. Please.
So I wanted to point, I was watching a video of Zakir Hussain, the tabla player, right? And somebody referred to him as a master and asked him, how did you gain mastery? And he was quite dismissive of that. He said, see, I'm not a master. I don't go in saying that I'm a master of the tabla. I'm not mastering the tabla. I'm just in, because if I ever take that stance, the tabla might completely, give up on me in a performance.
Nice.
And whereas what I look is just, I'm just loving the tabla. So rather than looking at mastery as where you gain a certain amount of expertise and hubris, I suppose is just an extension of love.
Yeah.
So in Zakir Hussain, if he can become such a great tabla player by showing humility and showing that it's beyond mastery, is how I see it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This
In
one.
fact, to your point, Deepak, in fact, the Masters golf tournament in Augusta just concluded yesterday. And a guy called John Ram won the tournament, right? But I go back many years to some of the golfing greats, and I don't know whether it was Jack Nicklaus or one of the other golfing greats, who at the start of every golfing season, these are masters of golf, but at the start of every golfing season would go back to their coach and tell the coach, teach me right from the basics. Show me how to hold the club. Show me how to take my backswing. Show me how to take the forward swing. Here is a golfing great who's won the most number of tournaments in the world in some of the most demanding environments, goes to his coach every coaching season and relearns the basics.
It comes from a place of humility, isn't it, John? Is that
Absolutely.
be able to think, if you think you're a master, you're not.
Correct.
That's what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I have been playing golf for like 33 odd years, and I have been taking coaching for the last 33 years. Of course, you all might say, like, John, you probably suck at golf. And that's probably a better explanation of why I've not been able to learn. But that's the fact. I've been learning and from different coaches and relearning and relearning and unlearning and relearning and unlearning and relearning. It's a constant process. And in many ways, golf mirrors life when I think about it. I mean, I can do a 3-hour session on just golf and coaching and competencies. Maybe I should do that one day. But that's the power, that's the power of just going back to the basics. And in many ways, when PK referred to the coaching competencies, the markers, it's really about going back to the basics. It's really about going back to the basics. I'm going to pause here. I know I've taken enough time. Subash, is there something that you want to share, Subash?
Yeah, I would like to start with the thank you everyone for joining. I have a question for everyone, saying that we explored what is mastery, and we all were unanimous pretty much on saying that it's a journey. So my question is, what could be the pit stop in that journey to mastery? Could there be some pit stops in the journey of mastery? For me, it is about, every session, can it convert into a session where the client experiences mastery? It's not me demonstrating as a coach mastery, but can I give that session after session that mastery? Is that a possibility? For example, Virat Kohli did that magical innings in the Middle East versus Pakistan, right? What would it take Virat Kohli to replicate that in every time he hits the ground? And RCB for sure needs it badly now, right? Most of us are Bangaloreans here. So what would it take to, tap into that mastery session after session? The second point I want to make is, more wearing the hat of an PCC assessor, something that perhaps, like John said about going through the coaching every session or every season. 3.1 is something that a lot of coaches, we don't do justice to. And as an assessor, I'm told if there is no 3.1, there is no coaching conversation. So then 3.1 is about addressing what is the goal. It could be a very transactional goal, but coaching is not transactional. Transactional coaching is an oxymoron for me. It has to be a transformational for the client. Then it is about maintaining that curiosity about what is the possibility behind the stated goal that the client is perhaps not aware. It is again not a coach's obsession to unearth for the client, but it is about just providing that safe space for the client that is there something beyond what the client has stated. This popular book, Prosperous Coach, talks about looking for what is beneath, what is beyond. It's a masterpiece on marketing of coaching. What PK is going to cover. So the goal behind the goal is something that I would invite, and doing a rock solid 3.1. From that point of view, the amount of time that we need to spend in contracting CC3 and within that 3.1 is very critical. So, one question that often comes to us in training and assessment is, what if the client shifts the goalpost during the session? My take on it, with all humility, is if you do a proper CC 3.1, there is no way that the client will shift. It's very unlikely in most of the cases that the client will shift anywhere during the rest of the conversation, unless there is a trust deficit or there is a doubt in the mind of the customer. Another, very, very tactical input, something that ICF has come up with the new CKA, the new version of CKA, which places a very high level of importance on the journey of coaching. So you're spot on that coaching mastery is a journey, and that journey is going to enable us to clear the test. And we will see, God forbid, more people not clearing the test because we have not taken that as a journey. PK made an opening remark about the new set of 8 competencies vis-a-vis the old 11. It fascinates me that ICF has brought in coaching mindset as CC2. Again, something that I feel ICF is figuring out what are the sub-competencies of the mindset, because they've just pulled out some competencies from the other competencies and put it there. But I feel it's the crux of the whole conversation or the engagement. So if you're operating from that deep state of mindset, coaching mindset consistently, again, repeating what John said, we are not just demonstrating curiosity and non-judgment in coaching, but it becomes part of our lives. So you can't explore who unless you are able to experience that who. And that is coaching mindset. So, my obsession with this whole thing is whether the West calls it moving from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. For me, it is just about coaching from a state of being. If you are able to tap into that state of being, session after session, every session would be a mastery. And we have seen coaches who can do that. We can actually be one step ahead of Virat Kohli, some of the greats, the so-called goats of cricket. So it's about also listening to what John said about the laughter. We know 70% of communication is listening. Within that 70% is listening to what is unsaid. How present are we to pick up those what is unsaid? Last point, I have this again is a personal kind of an obsession, though as coaches, we should not be obsessed with anything in a coaching conversation. It's about how much we encourage the client to set audacious goals. Audacious is just a expression. You could use any synonym for that. How much are you kind of challenge the client to set goals which are beyond the comfort zone, pushing the envelope in a very empowering way that the client comes with a transactional goal. For example, I had a client, 2 quick examples. I had a client who has worked in the IT sector for 17 years, has had 3 failed attempts in entrepreneurship, 3, right? In the process has lost out in the corporate growth, promotions, everything. He says, right from my parents to siblings to wife, everyone now kind of blames me for everything that I have not achieved in my professional career. So then I asked him, what is the goal of the engagement? He says, within 1 year, I want to get the next promotion. So within that next promotion, what is it that you want to focus on? He said, I'm just not good at, he's a techie. He thinks I'm not good enough in communication. So I want to focus on communication. So I said, then perhaps I'm not the coach. You should look for somebody who's a mentor in communicating. This is a very client-specific context. Yeah, there's a lot that has happened. I'm just picking up some of the key elements of it. So don't judge me on my responses. So I said, maybe you need to look for somebody who can help you, mentor you with communication. And I'm definitely not good at communication. Then, of course, he didn't let me go, nor I was in a hurry to wrap up the first conversation. Then just, long story short, we just kept exploring CC3, especially the 3.1 and 3.2. Then I asked him, what is 3.2? Somebody who has had 3 failures and was struggling for the next promotion, he said, I want to become a billionaire in 5 years as an entrepreneur. So, somebody who has had 3 failed attempts, his heart was still in entrepreneurship. It was just the family pressure, the pressure from the environment that was prompting him to look at a transactional goal of getting that next promotion 1 year. Yeah. So, and that's where the conversation picked up. So it was nothing to do with the promotion. Now he's working on that larger goal, which is the meta goal that PK was referring to. I mean, the way I understand. And then, promotion might happen, may not happen. Communication may improve, may not improve. But when he's clear about his North Star, that journey becomes important. And every religion, every faith speaks about the beauty of the journey rather than the destination, right? And, we are in the holy month of Ramadan. We are just coming out of the holy day of Easter, just Navaratri, 9 days. So, what is that North Star is something that as a coach, we have a responsibility to open the client to look at. Last one, 2 minutes, a quick another example. This is my fascinating story, something, a proof of audacious goal for me. The client, a prospect reaches out to me out of the blue. So, both these guys, they reached out to me. How they reached out to me is PK's topic. So he reaches out to me saying that I'm a scientist for 20 years, working with an MNC, very successful, 50 published papers. So, he's done his research. He's a researcher, scientist. Naturally, he has done his research. So I ask him, what is your goal? He surprises me with a meta goal. He says, in 3 to 5 years, I want to move to the US and take over the role of a CXO and then eventually a CEO. So my first question, this was the chemistry session, was why not a Nobel Prize? That is his background. For me, the audacious goal for me was also a potential Nobel Prize. He says, again, a long story short, he said, my only child daughter has just moved to the US. So the family, including parents and siblings, we have decided to move too. I've been a successful scientist for the last 20 years. Next 20 years, I want to do something totally different. People say I'm a people guy. I'm very good with people. So I decided that I want to become a CEO and a CXO. And why US? And why not, why a big, fairly large company? He said, I want to make a lateral entry or jump. I don't want to go and start with a startup, small company and then grow. No, I want to make a lateral entry because 20 years, right? For me, that was a meta goal. Long story short, 11th month, he took a flight to the US. He's a CXO since October 2019. We wish, we are still in touch. Wish all the Happy New Year, Happy Diwali. And he's still in touch. He's on his journey to become a CEO. And he's never traveled to US before, right? But his daughter is that he wanted. So there are elements of meta goal which is beyond I, me, mine as a client. So it's about enabling the client to identify that North Star, that purpose, which would help the client to identify what is my life purpose. And then you look at the engagement goal. Yeah, I'll pause here, PK. Any question, I'm happy, but PK has some points to share, then we can cover the Q&A. Back to you, PK.
Thank you, Subash. Thank you, John. Yes, so connecting back to core competencies and refreshing that, getting the basics right has always been is a significant part of, delivering mastery over sessions after session. Alongside this, what we are going to discuss today, alongside building the core competencies, alongside pursuing mastery, we also need to work on the business of coaching and the branding that is associated with it. Yeah. So there are many parts, many aspects of building a successful coaching business. In the time that we have today, I just thought of sharing a couple of important things that probably, can, give you some things to think about and act in your business in your own way. First and foremost is a compelling business strategy. And coaching business is like any other business. We need to have a compelling business strategy. In that, what it involves, basically it involves positioning, choosing our turf, the corner that I want to occupy. most of us, in my earlier conversations with many coaches and the chapters, we have developed a kind of aversion to the word niche. So you might be observing that I am avoiding the word niche because it is used, misused, abused. Probably using that in an interchangeable way. What about positioning? These are the words that we use anyway. Most of us are from business background. So positioning, choosing the turf, it's all the same. Business of coaching is not different from any other business when it comes to strategy. So my encouragement is that we need to hold it by its horns, whether we like it or not. Defining our coaching area, defining the segment that I am going to serve as narrow as possible, as specific as possible, as clear as possible. This way, we are not just helping ourselves, we are even helping our prospects. In order to run a successful coaching business, we don't need 1.5 crores of Bangaloreans to follow us or 7 billion people in the world. We don't. To be a successful business coach or any other coach of the segment that we are actually chasing, choosing, we just require a few clients. And the success is that whether we are visible to them. The success comes from how we are positioning our coaching business and selecting that particular segment of society and becoming the best coach in that area over time. So one aspect of coaching, which is widely misunderstood, is that we can coach anyone. In theory, I agree with that. And we can coach anyone, right from the sweepers on the roads to Prime Minister of India. But if we position our business in a manner in which it is appealing to everyone, it appeals to no one. And this is common to any business, and coaching is no exception. So how we position ourselves creates a lot of sense if we are serious about our business of coaching. This is what I need to share with you. And it's essentially where we play and the turf that we choose to play. And what will follow is that what is my positioning? Of course, defining it in a very clear, narrow, specific way. And which segment, the space that I'm going to serve, which is the segment of society that I'm going to operate in. And as a result, what are they going to get? And what is the outcome for my customers? And at what price point and ticket size? I'm differentiating this because the price point is generally defined as, per session, per hour kind of. And the ticket size is how many sessions we are going to have. So price point is one thing, ticket size is another. We need to have a very clear view of what is the ticket size. We need to create a product out of this coaching so that my coaching is either 7 sessions or 16 sessions. Very, 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 very rarely anything is other than 7 or 16. And this is for 10 years now. So it has worked. And this gives the clarity that what they are getting into and what they are biting, which is very important, not only in terms of budget, in terms of their space. When I choose to work with CEOs and CXOs, this 1.5 hours sessions, 90-minute sessions that I charge them is actually nothing compared to their time cost. They spend 2 hours getting into the session and out of the session, and they are going to spend much more time actioning. But those times are far, far, far more expensive than what they are going to pay me. So this understanding will create a kind of understanding for them that what are they biting, what are they getting into. So it's extremely important that we get our positioning right. Rather than positioning right, we need to know what are we trying to do with my positioning, which is the segment of society that I'm addressing, and what is the outcome that I'm good at generating for them through coaching, and then what is the price point and what is the ticket size. And it will establish their not only willingness to pay, but also the ability to pay, right? People don't buy coaching. We need to understand this very clearly. People don't buy coaching. They are seeking solutions. They have some, burning problems. They have tried reading books. They have tried watching videos. They have gone and attended trainings. Yeah, it is not working. So what is the solution is that they are seeking. and we know coaching may address their issue. But they are not coming and buying coaching from us. This is a realization that will open many, many more doors as to how you market yourself. Yeah, to be visible to the client segment that we are looking at. This is another very important issue. Yeah, a little bit of statistics here, or state of affairs. ICF 2020 report said that only 7% coaches do only coaching. It also explained that the rest do, alongside coaching, they do consulting, counseling, training, facilitation, and things like that. So pure coaching only are around 7% of all coaches, not just the ICF coaches, all coaches, because the study was about all coaches. And another study says only 19% of coaches see year 3. And one of the key reasons for failure is attributed to not having a niche. And they call out clearly not having a niche, though we as a coaching community have our own perception about the word niche, which I am forced to avoid at times when I'm chatting or discussing with coaches. And being seen consistently providing value to the clients of that niche, that segment, that positioning, that segment of society is one aspect that I wanted to encourage you to look at. The second part that I wanted to discuss with you is how do we market ourselves? And most of us don't come from marketing and marcom background, and that doesn't give us an excuse though. So designing the market, content marketing, and the communication needs to be aligned to the segment. This is the reason why we need to identify the segment. You know, if the segments, for example, CEOs, CXOs, nurses, doctors, advocates, you know, it could be many, you know, NGO, you know, nonprofit founders. The segment could be any and many more. Our communication, our content marketing needs to be consumed by them, right? It needs to be palatable to them. It needs to be aligned to their taste. It needs to be aligned to the prospect or client. And the way I told these, you know, segments of society, you would have already understood that all of them don't consume content from the same place. They don't consume content in the same way, and their preferences are different. Their priorities are different in the way they consume marketing material or the content marketing, whatever it is. For example, in CEOs, CXOs, my blogs generally, I've been blogging for this is ninth year. Consistently, I've been blogging. But all of these blogs are 20-second reads. It will be just 3 sentences at the most. It is not my choice, but that is the way my prospects are consuming it. Anything more than that, they either put it for later, which means they don't, or they simply don't. Right? My videos, there are many, are normally 40 to 60 seconds. Is it that PK likes it? No way. It is because my CEOs and CXOs who are my prospects, they watch a video only of that duration. Anything more than that coming from me, I am not Marshall. I am not somebody who is, you know, globally famous. If that is the case, they may probably view Simon Sinek, etc., 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. But when it goes from PK, if it is 40 seconds, they may think, okay, let me see. That is the reason. Right? My podcasts are 2 minutes. It is not my wish. It's not my preference. It is the way my prospects consume it. And I use a lot of images because it just strikes them. Right? So this is essentially to highlight the fact that our marketing, our communication should be aligned to the prospect's interest, to the target segment preferences. It's about creating the presence among the prospects. Yeah, it is not that we need to be present to the whole world. It is not that we need to be present to the whole community, whole society. We need to be present when my segment searches for help. So, at the nutshell, my encouragement is that business of coaching looks successful when through my business strategy, I have defined a set of prospects, which is the target segment, who I am chasing and I am getting. Yeah, days of surgical strikes, not carpet bombing. And through my marketing and communication, I am reaching my prospects very, very, tactically with most efficiency. I am able to reach my prospects. I am organizing my Marcom in a manner in which it finds the prospects that I have identified as part of the strategy. And it is successful when, before they come to me for the chemistry session, they know who I am, they know what I do, and they know what they will get and how they can be benefited. So it's about having that sweet spot and consistently delivering value to those segments and consistently reaching out to them in a very tactical, strategic, both short-term, long-term, I'm saying. That is how a successful business of coaching we can. And is it just that once we tune it and leave it? No. That's why refreshing comes. That's why reconnecting comes. That's why re-anchoring comes, because it's a daily thing. It's a moment-to-moment thing. It's a journey again, that we stay relevant to our prospects and we do the necessary tuning to be in their service. So with that, we are ready to have some question and answers. I think we have some 20 minutes going on schedule, Shanti. So if you could probably facilitate a Q&A session with, you can also tell which one of us you want to answer your questions, and we can get to that space. Shanti.
Sure.
I want to take a minute, Shanti, sorry to interrupt.
Please go ahead.
Because there is something for the benefit of the group, one precursor to that is, I think it is selfish not to kind of do the marketing of coaching. If you are a coach, the world needs a lot of coaching out there. So I think we are not being truly selfless as a coach, but perhaps we are not doing enough service. What I wanted to bring up from a PK's point of view, something that I admire in PK is, and I want PK to just spend 2 minutes on this as a first question, PK, is about the power of discipline and consistency, PK. And something that you do brilliantly well, right? So something, and especially those of us who are not from marketing or Marcom, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I would say anything you do is the way you do everything. So essentially, it's about, how, and discipline, consistency, two things you mentioned. And my thought there will be that what works without that. So the question is how consistent I am, because the prospects are looking for consistency within us, whether it is content marketing or, how they are not buying my coaching. Let me be, that's another part of it. They are buying me. They are not buying my coaching, because if they were looking for coaching, they could have gone to anyone. They buy me for what I am. So the point is that we need to create that level of trust, that level of consistency, that level of discipline, and that level of, kind of what they make out of you. And that's why I said the successful Marcom and you being a good coach with core competencies, never ever we can underestimate the importance of core competencies in our session after session. And that's why I came for that intensive. So the point is here, how well are they able to understand, know me? They need to know who I am. They need to know what I do. And they need to know to a large extent what they can get from me. And this is what it is. And this is true for an Apple phone also. We know what is the Apple phone. We know what we can do with it before we go to the iPlanet. So it is true with any product that is of value. So my encouragement is that anything that you do, because you don't take chances with your life. So you identify your segment very, very carefully, because it's your life. And after identified it, be consistent there and be disciplined in servicing them, because people are seeing through. And today with the social media, John was mentioning the other day that with the social media and other things, we are absolutely being seen through. That is true. And is ignoring that is the answer? No way. We cannot be absent. We need to be present. So that's my take on it, Subash. Anything that we choose to do, it is with our life. And what we have, the most valuable thing is our life at the moment. That I am alive and kicking. That is the most important thing. So I never, none of us would take chances with what we do.
Thanks, PK. Over to you, Shanti.
Thanks.
There are some questions.
There are some people have raised hands and people have put in the text chat too. I'll try and alternate. If people who've put on the text chat, you would want to raise your hand and ask the question in person, feel free to do so. We'll start with Selva. Selva, your question, please.
Yeah, thank you for PK. I'm curious about how does one go about pricing for a beginner coach? I mean, how does it one? Because I've heard many versions of it. One of the versions is it's up to your confidence. I don't know how confident I am about pricing, so I don't know how to judge that. If you could please walk us through some tips, some steps that one could go with pricing, ascertaining pricing.
Sure. There is no clear black and white or right or wrong. I think we should go with what we think is appropriate to begin with. Do constantly review, reflect on it. So one is that you need to identify the the segment, and you need to have some view on what is their ability to pay, and second, what is their willingness to pay. And based on that, and what will do justice to your time, because as coaches, we also need to not only meet the ends meet, make the ends meet, but also we have our own economical aspirations, right? So it's always a equation with all these things, and something that works for one other person need not or not necessarily work for me. So therefore, it is very organic approach that I would suggest, that you look at who is your client, what is their capability to pay, what is your ticket size, how many sessions you think you need to run for them, and it is a multiplication of that. And they are going to ask you, hourly rate, and they are going to tell you, he is charging this, she is charging this, why you are charging this. So probably it is an evolution, it's a finding, and it's like any other business. No businesses get their pricing, right in the first try. So being open, curious, working on it, constantly at it, will find you the sweet spot.
Thanks, PK. I think the next one is also for you. This is from Tarun Kohli. Does one establish one's niche along the coaching journey, as we may discover it along the way only, not from day one? How true is that?
Yeah, when you start a journey, it always helps if you know where you are starting from. Yeah, so because the destination is always in relation to where you start from. Therefore, I would encourage everyone to figure out through some discovery sessions and invest something upfront to know my coordinate, where I am at the moment, so that you can plan the journey better. Otherwise, it's like starting from Bangalore, outer ring road, and be in the outer ring road. So, it is better that we choose a specific coordinate. Where are we starting from, and what kind of clients am I going to serve? And after serving them for some time, it is not working. Even from Tumkur on the way to Mumbai, you can take a turn to Hyderabad if that is the better way. But being in the outer ring road, yeah, at least traveling up to Tumkur, if it is the right road that you are hitting, you are likely to reach Mumbai faster.
Yeah. Thank you, PK. Sailesh, you want to ask a question?
Sure. I've been noticing that can a niche be as simple as a coach's background? I come from IT, a lot of IT experience. And some of the contracts, the little work I'm getting is from IT customers. They're preferring me only because of my skill. I know that's not a good thing to say with coaches, but can I use that as a niche?
Why not? Absolutely, we are as we are. I mean, it's not that we need to survive the rest of our life just with the coaching that we picked up in the last 3-4 months or 6 months.
Okay.
Our life, we need not discount just because we picked up some new skill in the last 6 months. So I would add my entire life into coaching, and whatever helps me to be most effective on the table, I would do that.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to just add to what PK said. This is something that PK has challenged me. Some of the things that we challenge ourselves on the road to mastery is, it's like, for example, just a small example, we don't use the word why in our conversations in the early stage. But in mastery, there is no restriction because ICF does not prima facie, say don't use the word why. Similarly, we feel that, I've heard somebody say that even a barber can become a coach, right? Because you just learn the skill, they can. But the point is, you embody the IT for so many years, 10, 15, 20 years. Why do you want to get rid of it?
Exactly.
And I've seen that. I've gone through it myself. And, PK was somebody who had helped me to come out much earlier. So what I would respectfully add is start with IT. There is nothing wrong in it. But allow that to evolve. For me, that is also mastery.
Thank you.
Allow that to evolve. Yeah.
Sailesh, I got a lot of CFO clients, finance clients, because of my finance background.
Sure.
Not because I am any better coach for finance folks than I am for anybody else. But that's the perception.
People are buying you. I repeat that. People are buying you, not your coaching.
Yeah.
Please let us understand that. Because people are not buying coaching. They don't even know what is coaching.
And that is who on the other side.
They are not
I'm
buying
repeating
coaching.
again. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
who.
they are buying you. Sorry, Subash, I think you said something.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm saying that is the who from the other side. We always look at the who. We are obsessed with the who of the client in the conversation. But there is a who about this side also. And that is mastery.
There's a question that Ram has raised a couple of times. It's what impact AI like ChatGPT could have in the coaching business. Priya, that's beautiful, huh? What you have put. Some barbers and hairdressers for the first coach we sometimes meet. They are also our counselors also. And gossip mongers. Any thoughts on the AI? Because I don't have the foggiest clue. Although I've used ChatGPT. Anybody has any thoughts on?
I'll pick it up and allow others experts to come in. This came up. Some of us who attended the conclave, there's this session on the future of coaching, I guess, where ChatGPT came very prominently, and all the variants there of AI and other stuff. But the speaker, I don't remember his name, was sharing the dais with Magda. He said, we are giving too much importance to the AI and other stuff. So my take on it, generally listening to these experts and otherwise, is that at this point of time, I think coaching at something closer to mastery, you can't be touched by AI yet. However smart AI can get, I think that is still few years down the line, perhaps. The ability to tap into the emotions, the ability to tap into, the listening to the unsaid, and all that goes into the mastery. That's my take on it. And it is just not about AI. For example, I come from an auto finance background. For automobiles, they're always looking at each other as competition. But the real competition came from tech companies. And perhaps someone else will come and disrupt mobility even in the coming years. Similarly, we don't know. There could be something beyond AI that is waiting to disrupt coaching. At this point of time, I think as long as we are at the cutting edge of mastery, we are pretty much safe. That's my 2 cents.
I just want to add about AI. There are a lot of coaching aggregators that claim to use AI engines to do the matching of their prospective clients with the panel coaches. So that is where I've seen a lot of them advertised, but I'm also thinking how good they are, I don't know. So sometimes maybe we are also at the mercy of AI to be selected.
I think Deepak and GC had raised hands.
I will let GC speak here.
Go ahead, GC, then we'll go to Deepak.
Hi, good morning.
Actually, you can go.
Actually, I have just completed my ACC, and I'm trying to select my niche. Don't know where to begin, and there are all kinds of clients, mostly friends and relatives right now. So how do I begin? Any suggestions?
There are ways and means of picking the niche. It's a subject matter of probably another session. If there are more people looking for it, we could probably have a session where we could, there is a method. There is a method in this, definitely in any madness. So definitely there are ways and means of getting the niche as close as possible. There is nothing called perfection anyway. So we need to be constantly evolving from there. So definitely there are ways and means, GC. I think my number is available. So if we can have a one-on-one, we could have a chat sometime tomorrow, day after on that.
Thank you.
There's a question from Srini. I'll come to Deepak. 30 seconds. Srinivas asks, how can we make more awareness of coaching in the corporate world? Any thoughts or views?
That's a question for ICF Bangalore, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's more of a B2B question.
And we've had this discussion with Dr. Winston during Chai Pe Charcha, I think, several times.
So you're putting it on the MC to figure out. Okay, Deepak, over to you.
No, I just want to add here. This came up again in the conclave. Whoever asked that question, ICF Global is going to invest some effort and energy on promoting in the corporate. This came up very specifically as one of the action points based on some research they have done. But again, I would still say that we can't depend on ICF Global to do this job. I think at the chapter level and at the collective level, we have to do something with the help of the chapter.
Yeah, Subash, it's a Srinivas, that's the question I put it. So as of now, I'm listening to veterans in the coaching. So my ask was, from your point of view, what we need to do as a coach to build the internal coaches in the organization, or to get into, I don't know, how to market, or I think someone said just now, many of the people, whether educator or non-educator or businessman, really doesn't matter. Many people, as per my experience, they really do not understand what is the coaching means. So the point what I'm trying to understand from any one of you is, how can we make more awareness to the corporate world, which are very well educated. They have seen the world in their own, different angles, Subash.
I'll take this and I would request PK to come in. Again, just a counterintuitive response. You may not appreciate this. Early stage of my career, I did try to educate the market about coaching. Then I understood I was wasting time. And I didn't have the bandwidth and the large-heartedness to educate the market. So I started focusing on people who knew coaching. But my answer is what PK brilliantly put it. It's not about coaching at all. It's about giving solution to the client. So what are you good at? Match that with what problem you can solve for the customer. And both for the previous question and GC's question, this question, one idea, one hack could be, who's your ideal customer and what problems are you solving for them? For example, I'm very clear that most of my clients are looking at the career progression from CXO to CEO. So it's very easy for me to laser focus on that. And I just build my muscle on that. So, this whole thing about internalizing coaching in organizations, democratizing coaching and all, these are all good to speak of. Aggregator that Sailesh beautifully said. Sailesh, the joke at the conclave was, people don't like to be called aggregators. They have some synonyms for it, which appears more respectful, right? I was looking for the note, I couldn't find it. Yeah, so Rajeshwari was there, she's laughing. Yeah, so the thing is, Srinivas, it's about stepping back and look at how can I serve my ideal client and what problems I can solve. And you should also perhaps pick up and have a chat with PK on this.
Yeah, thank you, Subash.
PK, do you want to add, or should I go to the next question?
No, we can take Deepak's question because.
No, I didn't have a question. I'm a bit late today. In general, I'm one session behind. Well, so I was just talking about the AI thing. I feel that the AI will dramatically alter every field, including coaching. Though initially, it will affect those people who don't know to use, those coaches who don't know AI will be, or how to use AI will be at a disadvantage than coaches who know how to use AI engines. So it's like an Excel sheet. If you know Excel sheet, you know to use, you're better off than someone who doesn't know Excel sheet. So I think initially AI will be a tool, but tomorrow we don't know what could happen 15, 20 years. I remember one case study where Facebook had to shut off its chat in AI engine because the two AI engines started creating its own language altogether that humans could not comprehend. So what could happen 15 years from all these AI engines, we don't know. But for now, I think it's better off to know how to use AI than not to use it.
Partner with AI was the theme at the conclave too. Yeah. Next question from Somayaji Manikantan. What if I feel coaching is not transactional? Is there a way to approach coaching marketing without niche, sales, funnel, content marketing, etc.?
Can you please repeat, Shanti? Not clear.
What if I feel coaching is not transactional? Is there a way to approach coaching marketing without the niche, sales, funnels, content marketing, etc.?
We can approach the way we want, but how effective will it be is why we tune it.
Yeah, Srinivas has a question. How can we make more? Oh, this we have covered. Share stories and okay, these are responses. I'm trying to see the questions. Give me 1 second. Possible to build use cases with masked identities to spread the efficacy of coaching and the results that they bring. That's a question. Is it possible?
It's possible after you have had a touch of the prospect, because how many people are going to read use cases, strangers? So again, it is the efficiency of your bandwidth and the marketing space that you get, the seconds that you get with every prospect. So using it, yeah, the testimonials or the use cases, etc., can help. Once, yeah, in terms of sequence, your marcom must be much larger and much more, overarching than testimonials, and it will help in sales, but not in marketing.
Okay, Devabrata says his question was in respect to spreading awareness among the corporates.
I think we had that question earlier.
We have Anuradha. How will we know who we need to address our communication to? Anuradha, is that part of a...
Absolutely. I think that is a good question. That is why you need to have a niche, because your communication need to be addressed to the people who are likely to be your users. If you, you need to, Subash used the word laser sharp. So you need to be fine tuning, and you need to be orienting your communication to the target segment. Therefore, the reason
Anuradha was responding to Somayaji. So
yeah.
I was just responding to his question.
Okay, sorry.
Because if you don't have a niche, then who are you going to communicate to?
Perfect, Anuradha.
Yeah, I don't see any further questions in the text chat. People, if you want to raise hands and...
I want to just add one more. Mani, thanks for joining, Mani. If I can attempt to answer that question, like just as we say, coach from a state of being, and knowing you know what it is and how you do it. I'm sure you do a lot of coaching from a state of being. I'm curious to know, is there something like marketing from a state of being? Can we extend that space into marketing from a state of being? Good to see you also, Mani. He's logging from US.
I would just like to
just a quick interrupt.
Still it should be addressed at someone, right?
Just a quick interrupt. I use Chat GPT to tell me how do I break my procrastination habit. It's posted in the chat. Have a look at it.
Okay.
Pretty decent, actually.
Yeah. Initiation of democratization of coaching, definitely AI is going to help, but we need human intervention at some point is what I still feel. We hope what Deepak said does not come to ever, but let's see.
You should watch this.
One observation, Shanti, if I may, just to respond to Subhash's observation, all marketings happen from the state of being. Then only it works.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. So even if you are communicating from the state of being, still it needs, my point here is that still it needs to be addressed to someone. Just because I am addressing from the state of being a 30-minute video, I can tell you none of my clients are going to watch.
PK, I think the point which I was trying to make was, if a sunflower blossoms, it doesn't say which bee I should target, right? So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, but yeah, we don't know whether animate, inanimate, the way of consuming the content, is it the same? The way we consume sunflower is one way, the way bees consume sunflower is another. So maybe sunflower is, a larger that way, whether it is successful or not, we don't know their KRA. But the point here is that we are working with a community who is very much concerned about their money, their KRA, their ROI. Therefore, they need to behave that way. It's not my preference, as I said earlier. It's not that I need to limit my thoughts to 2-3 sentences, just that I find it more palatable to my prospects. And out of my concern for my prospects, coming back to that state of being, out of my concern for my prospects, since it should be usable in their life, whether they sign up with me or not, I share my blogs with a broadcast list of 700 people. So all of them are not signed up any point in time. All of them may not sign up at all at some point in time. But the point here is that I still share my thoughts in the briefest possible way so that they consume and make their environments better than otherwise. So that is the lookout. And that is the way each one of us can add value to the particular segment of the society. I think we should never underestimate our ability to add value to the society. And identifying that particular segment is only going to multiply it. So that is a multiplier to our efforts, is the point that I want to make.
Thank you.
It is already 8:04, and before more people drop, I'm going to paste the link to that next session. Do register. It's a session by Janet Harvey, Courageously Disrupting. Again, the title is very catchy. I'm very curious to hear what she has to say on this. I'm hoping Subash, PK, and John can stay on if people have a few more questions. We officially close the session. If you are, it is time for you and you need to drop, feel free to do so. And we're open for, we can continue.
Janet Harvey is an amazing coach. So, please try and attend. She was both Subash's and my mentor coach for mentor coaching.
Wow.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Absolutely. Just one conversation with her and I was floored.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely wonderful. So please attend her session.
No, we are okay to continue, Shanti.
Thank you.
We'll hang out.
So I have a question. In fact, I don't know whether I should ask this to Subash, in fact, PK or John. How is market responding to team coaching? Or rather organizations, in fact, my apologies for using the word market.
I'll try to take it. Yeah, I think, I feel the coach trainers have put the cart ahead of the horse while ICF is still figuring out the competency framework and other things. So I think they are trying to push. Some amount of push is happening in the marketplace. See, group coaching, team coaching kind of things always existed, right? We can have done sessions way back in 2016 or something. So the thing is, it was always there. But this whole thing about the ICF thrust on it and EMCC thrust, I have not seen any noise in the market yet. When I say the market, it primarily comes from HR leaders and the business leaders. I personally have not seen, and I am very curious. I have also undergone team coaching training with Janet Harvey, and I'm a student of marketing, so I'm keeping my eyes and ears open. But nothing much in the marketplace. Yes, I feel we are pushing it a little bit as coaches more than the market is demanding as of now. That is my take. Anyone else? I would like to hear too.
I am intentionally staying away from team coaching because that's not my niche. So I'm very clear about what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
I think I just got a small certification in team coaching and I'm struggling. No customers, no clients. But one of the challenge also is they say go in dyads, go in pairs. So for me to even find another co-coach who we match our wavelength, we are working together well, is another huge challenge. So although I'm doing the certification because it looks niche, but I think maybe the market is very hard, very difficult.
Yeah, Mani has some question.
Sailesh, I want to just respond to that. Mani, sorry for a second,
Yeah.
2 minutes. Sailesh, I had somebody, an overseas mentor, asking me this question, and I can see at least people are still on the call, except Santi, good friend from Colombia. Everyone else is local. She asked me why Indian coaches don't collaborate, Sailesh. So, my invitation is, coaching, like any other entrepreneurial initiative, is very lonely. Yeah. It's also a good idea to look at, some kind of partnering.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mani.
Yeah, I'm just going to add a sentence on the team coaching. I'm also a certified team coach. And this is given that, those who are worried about ChatGPT and other things, this is one place to look at, because one-on-one coaching, the regular vanilla mill is going to be taken out by ChatGPT, whereas team coaching is a possibility where we can explore.
Thanks.
Yeah, Anirudh.
So I have a little contrary view towards ChatGPT. As someone who uses it extensively and is also looking at how tech can disrupt coaching, I feel the essence of coaching is the intuitive response. So we do have visual models that can kind of look at how a person is responding and give you a feedback mechanism. But a classic question is, we see dissonance in a coaching conversation. For a basic level programming, I'm sure that people will say learn fast, but a smile would mean an indicator of joy or indicator of happiness. But in coaching, we ask, what is that smile all about? So if you just look at a basic interpretation of data, let's say the visual model is capable of asking that question too, that there's a dissonance. But then it's the human element that can, kind of pick up on the vibe, whether the client is actually being honest, or is there some level of lack of trust in the conversation. So to kind of summarize, the more we push into the niche, get into the essence of mastery of coaching, I think we're safe there. And whatever can be replaced will be replaced. And in a way, creative destruction is great for the industry. So it'll kind of remove inefficiency. But at the essence, I would embrace tech disruption, because that's what Naval Ravikant says, that humans are meant to do creative tasks. So for me, the ideal situation is where we just have the coaching conversation, everything before and after, feedback, all of that, let ChatGPT take over. That's what I think.
You're right, Amit. It will never be able to catch some of those subtleties. Also, neurologically, coach and the client are connected. At biological level also.
Yeah.
That's something that you cannot have. You can never have the neurological connection.
Absolutely. There is an energy field.
Yeah.
If I may say something around ChatGPT, thanks, Anirudh, for bringing this. Suresh here. If I'm not wrong, most of you would have read this news which came in yesterday. ChatGPT has actually taken out the source code of Samsung. Some big codes from Samsung, some of their clients were trying to, not as usual, being curious and trying to do something. Now, ChatGPT has a source code of a big program, right? Which is technically a breadwinner for Samsung. Now, looking at it, the confidentiality, because artificial intelligence learns from every transaction. Now, how will ChatGPT learn? Now, if it is going to learn all these things from whatever conversations they have, right? Confidentiality will become a big thing. So will artificial intelligence really be the thing for coaches? I don't know. So I just thought I'll share this. It just came in yesterday. It is a big thing in tech world.
That's a good point, Suresh. Confidentiality is something that we hold sacred, right? And with the ChatGPT having access to all this data, you don't know what can come out. I might ask that question. What did Suresh Ranganathan share in his last session? How did it will come?
And sorry, just to add to that, I would say like tech, just the way it started, can also be shut down at any point of time. Like Forbes released a tweet where top 10 entrepreneurs, including Elon Musk, they have signed that all further explorations into AI should be stopped. So just like how Meta had a program where both of them started talking to each other. So for people who build their business around it, they just decided overnight to pull the plug. So even tech is not safe in this.
It is.
Shanti,
there are no
people don't want to
questions.
leave the session. Yeah, what's going on, Shanti?
There are no questions. There are lots of thank you messages.
Yeah, thank you
People
very
are
much.
loving
Thank
the
you. Big
session.
thanks.
The
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you for the
all the
session.
best.
So much.
Thank you
Thanks
very
to the
much.
chapter for hosting us
Looking
also.
forward to
Bye-bye.
seeing most of
Thanks,
you in the
Shanti.
next session.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.